Richard from BURNIE wants to know if I support cutting federal spending to help our economy. I am strongly in support of balancing our budget, but you don't do that in a recession. In a recession, cutting spending or raising taxes would be counterproductive to what we're trying to do to get our economy back on track. The first priority needs to be our economy. We need to take steps to stimulate job growth, to stimulate economic recovery, and to make it easier for small businesses to get loans and make it easier for people to keep their jobs and for job expansion. But I tell you this, we really need to get back to fiscal discipline. We've got to get our budget balanced. We've got to do that for the sake of our long-term economic growth. Debbie from Baltimore wants to know why won't the government bail out the U.S. middle class instead of big companies? I think it's a good question, Debbie. I think you're asking the right question, because most of the $700 billion has gone to help the financial institutions on Wall Street. I want to see the money used to help our communities. I want to see the money come into Maryland and go to Baltimore and go to the different regions of our state and say, look, we're going to help small businesses. Small businesses can't get loans today. They go to the SBA, and the SBA programs, you need a bank to participate. The bank, if they make the loan, there's no secondary market where they can get liquidity. So loans aren't being made. Why hasn't some of that $700 billion been used to help small businesses get the loans that they need? I've written the Secretary of the Treasury and asked him to do exactly that. I want to make sure that the money gets down to our community. Community banks get the help that they need. Homeowners get the help that they need to save their properties, and that this money shouldn't just be going to Wall Street. It's got to get to Main Street. So I think that's the right question to be asked. Lynn from Silver Springs is in favor of an industry bailout for the auto companies because she thinks there are too many companies, the personnel and families involved to let the industry fail. She is appalled at the arrogance of the three CEOs, though. Lynn wants to know if any money is given to these companies, how will it be monitored? What accounting will be made to the government, made by the government and to the public? Lynn, great question. And I think most people agree with you. Most people do not want to see the U.S. auto companies go into bankruptcy. They understand that it would be terrible for our economy. But on the other hand, they want to make sure that the greed that we've seen among corporate executives, the fact that they flew their jets to Washington, the fact that they haven't been responsive to the type of automobile fleet that we need for the future of our country as far as energy and environment is concerned, the fact that we don't have the modern type of arrangements between the U.S. auto manufacturers and their dealerships, the fact that in many respects, the arrangements with workers needs to be competitive to make sure U.S. can compete internationally. All those are issues that, Lynn, you're right in asking those questions. I can assure you that if the federal government comes to the help of U.S. auto manufacturing, and I think we should, I don't think we should allow them to go into bankruptcy. It must be knowing that the top management will make the type of sacrifices that we expect them to make, that will have the type of reforms so U.S. auto manufacturing can not only get through this recession, but they can be competitive in this new environment, and that they make the type of product that's in the interest of our country. Gloria from Bethesda wants to know what happened to our economy that the big guys get bailed out when they have private planes, big salaries, and bonuses. Why do you think the auto companies won't just spend it all and ask for more? And it's a similar question, and I must tell you, we should not make the federal credit available unless they have the type of reforms to make sure that there is salary reform for top management, that we don't see it going to corporate jets, that we find that there is major concessions made by the top management on their salary package, and that there's the type of oversight so that these reforms, in fact, happen. It was interesting. We've seen some of the audits now on what's happened with the $700 billion in credit, and there's some disappointment that the industries haven't done what they said they were going to do. Well, that's the reasons we did the audits. We should have the independent audits, and we should make sure that the commitments that are made are commitments kept. Robert from GAMBRILLS understands is that we have given $300 billion to various financial institutions, have used the money for purposes other than what we intended. What kind of oversight is there in using this money? That's the exact point I was making. The Congress insisted, even though the administration didn't want us to do it, in putting in the $700 billion package, oversight, independent oversight, so that you know how that money is spent and whether the companies lived up to their commitments that they made in seeking government loans. The GAO, the Government Accounting Office, has told us that they believe that many of these commitments have not been lived up to by the companies that have gotten federal loans. We are now in the position of demanding that that be changed because we have the openness in the review process. We have to make sure that the requirements that we're committed to are carried out.